Kriss, welcome to the PerformX Podcast. An absolute pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
The Gym 80 are a big partner of ours at the show. We're a few weeks out from year number 5, our biggest one yet, and you guys have gone bigger this year, which is exciting news.
Yeah.
Excited to dig into the Gym 80 brand a little bit with you today. So your role, you sit between, I guess, manufacturing operations, gym floor. We're at Buzz today, which is one of your key accounts, and so as UK MD of Gym 80, what does your role really mean? Like, what are you kind of obsessed with? What's your remit?
Everything, to be fair. When I took the role on 4 years ago, it was very much about getting a footprint for Gym 80. We moved away from a distributor model, so a lot of that is heavily based on just working with key accounts like Buzz, who we've known for a long, long time and have always bought from us, even through previous distributors. And then it's kind of, we wanted an organic growth strategy. So it was a bit like, let's do some little bits, build those relationships, and then grow our team bit by bit, and grow our brand bit by bit. But we also wanted to make sure that we weren't just trying to sell to everyone. So it's very strategically based in how we do what we do, but we wanted to make sure that we built the foundation properly, which was why we kind of selected the brands that we wanted to work with, ones that we've had previous success with, and then targeted a few brands where we thought these are the places that we need to see our kit in, because this is where we're positioned as a brand. So my role was very much about building those relationships, building those partnerships, doing the sales stuff, but then also heading up all of our operational logistics, importing goods over from Germany, doing all of the servicing, making sure that we've got the correct service partners, installation teams. So that's a lot. People only see the tip of the iceberg, which is the kit in the gym, but everything that goes underneath it has taken a long time. And now as we've grown, we've got more members of the team now who are heading up like a national sales manager. We have an operations and admin and process manager, and we work a lot closer now with HQ in terms of having the desired effect of what we need operationally to run. So we've got our own warehouse in the UK. So it's a process to build, and it was one that I would have preferred to do it that way, because it's easier to just draw down money and then give yourself a huge debt that you've suddenly got to pay back to before you start making profit again against that. We didn't want to do that. We just wanted to build it slow, build it organically. Yeah. So my role has kind of had to oversee all of that. And in time, I'll step away from sales as such to oversee more salespeople, take that and then grow our brand even further. So kind of got my hands in everything at the moment, which isn't the worst thing.
No, at least you get a good understanding of where everything's at. No, that's really cool. And you're kind of, I guess you're in quite a few of our key accounts. So as a show, we try and bring together all the leading decision makers in the sector, and you're with quite a few of those. So the Buzz guys, obviously, Third Space, Fitness First. We just talked about David Lloyd. What would you say people misunderstand about Gym 80, and what do you think actually matters about your product? What's your kind of differentiator?
I think the biggest misconception is people assume there's two, actually. One, we're so expensive we're unaffordable.
Right.
And two, they just think we're into bodybuilding. So those that have known our brand previously just think, oh, your kit's massive, it's too big, and it's just for bodybuilders. So it's not suitable for those spaces. And those that have heard since we've come onto it know as a premium brand, they're too expensive. So we are more expensive than most brands, but that's for a number of different reasons. But we're not unaffordable, as some brands have actually found out that, you know, for, I wouldn't say a fraction, but for potentially 20%, 25% more than what some of the other brands are out there, the value that they're getting over their kit and cost of ownership over a longer period of time is a much better investment as such. So therefore it's not unaffordable, and then you're not too expensive. So, you know, they're the misconceptions that we've had to overcome. And our heritage is bodybuilding. It always has been. That's where we made our name. However, in 2016, there was a new ownership took charge of the company with a very clear strategy to align ourselves now as a premium brand in the sector, to ensure that we continue using the best materials, but the level of customization options and the level of being able to suit different brands and what they need really kind of separated us and put us aside. But because we were going through distribution in a lot of places at that time, you rely on a distributor to tell your story. And if the distributor doesn't do that as well, then you struggle to get that message across. And I know because I worked with the distributors previously. So knowing that what I thought was what we had available compared to what we actually had available as a Gym 80 brand was completely different. So it's only really when you step away from that distributor model and then you can really kind of let people know the full story, who you are, who you've worked with, what you can actually do. But that's still something that we continue to do all the time. I still think there's a lot of brands out there that aren't quite sure the level of support we can offer and the level of options they can have. Like, we've got 500 products. Like, we have nearly 90 pin select machines. We have over 90 plate loaded. That's not including stations, cable stations, functional rigs, racks, ancillaries. Like, there's around 260 different machine types that we have. And that's a lot to choose from, when a lot of other brands have got maybe 40 to choose from. So, yeah, that's a message that has been our probably biggest struggle to get across. Definitely.
Yeah, and yeah, that's true. That's true. And Adam speaks very highly of you guys, and it's that kind of people that know what they're really looking for.
Yeah.
There's a real kind of that focus on quality, I guess. That focus on.
Yeah. And the industry's changed a lot. That people, I think, in the independent sector, a lot of the independent gyms, they tend to look at each other to see what everyone else is doing, what kit are they getting, what kind of offering have they got. Not necessarily to copy it, but you want to know what your competition is. Yeah. Whereas I don't necessarily think it's looked at in the same way towards the larger commercial kind of gargantuans of David Lloyd's, Fitness First, Third Space, etc. So trying to stay unique and stay ahead of the game has always been important, which leans in heavily to us as a brand because we're able to complement and do that. So that's worked in our advantage quite a lot, which is where some of that attraction has been, definitely.
Nice. And so we're in Buzz today. They are a high footfall, value-led, but they're serious about training. They've kind of redone the way the budget gym model is done. From that kind of, obviously strength has massively boomed as a trend. From the strength floor perspective, what have they really got right that other gym chains could learn from here?
I think that they are very selective over the machines that they want. So with us, with Buzz, we've always known where we fit into their business model. So as much as we would love to do all their kit, we know full well that a lot of their business is built on 2 to 3 brands, and they're choosing the best of the selection of those machines in those brands. And they've got some really well-educated people. Like Adam's been in the industry, the owner, for such a long time. So he knows kit, he understands strength training, he also understands what his members want, but he stays true to the business principles. And you put all that together, and then it becomes quite an easy process for them to know exactly what they want, as opposed to being supplier-led, where I can turn around and go, you need our hack squat, you need this, you need that, they're our best sellers, these are the machines you should have. That doesn't necessarily kind of fall in line with their vision as such. They will pick and select the exact machines that they know work for them. And for us, it's just important that we kind of support that as best as possible. So they do quite a lot of due diligence before they place their orders. They don't just pick and choose willy-nilly what they want. And I think that's what they do really well, because it complements their member experience. And a lot of gyms, don't get me wrong, do exactly the same, but for Buzz, they specifically are very selective over the machines that they want, and they won't just put random unique pieces in for the sake of it because some other gym might have a pendulum squat in one club. They'll know their member demographic of what they want, and they'll know if a pendulum will work. So they're very specific, rather than go, we need a pendulum in each club. Like, it won't necessarily be the case for them. So that's where I feel like they get it right, and we have a good relationship with Adam and the team here, so it becomes a bit more of a kind of a collegiate decision as such sometimes as well. So it works.
Like, as you were saying, that relationship, that having the key accounts, having that long-term relationship, it's not a transactional thing, it's a consultation of designing a club together kind of thing.
But that's kind of where we decided we wanted our strengths to be, is we don't want to be a transactional business. We want to be built on reputations. Yeah. And there's a lot of education, there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of skills within our kind of forte that we can share as much as people want it. Like, you're going to go to some clubs where they know what they want straight away, they just want to send you the order, and that's fine, that's no problem. We'll go to some clubs that are completely want to be like led by us. What do you recommend? How would you use the space? Could you do a design? Can you do a layout? You tell us what works.
Nice.
And that's great sometimes. Whereas with Buzz, you're in the middle, and you can kind of consult as much as they need, but they're very decisive in what they want as well. Yeah, exactly. And they don't deviate away from that. And that's why they've been as successful as they are. So for us, it works well because we want to build on relationships. We want people to have confidence in the brand, trust in what we're doing, and they can use and lean into that as much as they want.
Nice. And looking at your portfolio and what you're seeing in the market in terms of your customer base, what are they mostly, like trends wise, what are you seeing them optimizing for right now, and what are they moving away from?
Good question. I think a lot of brands now, I don't think it's a case of jumping on a wellness bandwagon at all, but I do feel like there's so much more value to their memberships now by diversifying their offerings and trying to not just be the same as everyone else. Yeah. So whether that is cold plunge therapy, infrared saunas, recovery areas, like an old recovery area used to just be a mat to go and stretch in with like a football that would be lying next to it. People like, if you just got a mat, go and stretch on your own. Like now there's so much more to that. So people are far more invested in finding value there. But from a training perspective as well, me and you have discussed this before, the average user is far more educated than they've ever been. Yeah. And they're far more aware of different ways to train, different machines. People want to go to certain clubs that have got certain bits of kit. And so I kind of find that the trends that people are kind of following is trying to stay more true to themselves and not just going with whatever the buzzwords are. Right. And I really see that more, especially when we're trying to sell kit as well into those spaces. So I don't know. I feel like a club like Buzz, for instance, just nail that really well. They have a better understanding of strength profiles, of resistance curves on machines. So best in brand now, there's us and a few other competitor brands that people want to go and train on that. They want to understand training. Right. They're looking at their kind of head of fitness, their kind of head of personal trainers are looking at resistance profiles that they can train with their customers and their clients that sets them apart from an average white labeled machine from China.
It's true. It's interesting you say that. It feels like this is like a real change in people talking about the manufacturers. Like the end user is going, oh, that kit feels good, that feels good. And it felt like maybe from an outsider perspective, 10 years ago, that wasn't a thing. You know, you just went to your gym and did your thing, whereas now it's like, that is the kit I want to be on kind of thing, yeah. It's
because there's greater access to those brands now, including us. Right. So I think 10 years ago in the UK, a lot of the gyms that were opening, if you didn't have a history in bodybuilding or hadn't used some of our kit previously, you didn't know who we are. Right. Even when we kind of launched the brand like 4 years ago, people were still like, I've never heard of you, which is mad considering where we are now compared to that. Yeah. But the access to strength brands, it's always been there, but it's always had to go through distributors. So Atlantis, Prime, Panatta, Gym 80, all of those type of brands have either struggled to go direct in the market because the Matrix, Life, Technogyms have held such a stronghold in there. Right. But the rise of people wanting something different, unique training profiles, and in the end, certain brands were able to offer a full turnkey. They'd be great at one part of it and not so great at maybe another. And that's allowed access to us because we don't try and do something that we're no good at. Like, we don't sell cardio at the moment. Like, it's not something that we have. We're a strength training brand. So we're going to just be the best strength training brand that we can be. We're going to focus all our R&D into that and then try and blow everyone else out of the water and produce the best machines with the best profiles. And that's what historically the brand has always wanted to do. But other brands, strength brands, the ones that I've named, want to do the same. And now gyms catch on to that. And they're like, well, I want some Atlantis pieces. I want some Gym 80. I want some Panatta. And they now want to go best in brand. But best in brand isn't always the most expensive. It's the ones that give them the best training experience when they're in there. And some of those other larger brands don't necessarily offer that in the strength ranges. Cardio, some of the tech is incredible, absolutely. But strength-wise, our brands have now been given a platform, given access, and once they start getting into some of those big clubs, then you start to see the growth more and more people are open to training in that way. So that's where it's kind of swayed in our favour, I feel.
Off-piste question, but I'm interested. Do you ever try and speak directly to that end consumer in your marketing? Is that a strategy that's ever...
Yes, but each of the kind of export markets that we have, so the UK, Middle East, Asia Pacific, USA and Europe, it's very different because the buying strategies are very different. Like the UK is a very unique market in comparison to others.
Yeah.
So we tend to listen to a lot of feedback that comes in. And now because of the rise and access of things like bodybuilding shows, people wanting to compete, that element is such a huge part compared to what it was maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And access for anyone to be able to do that. They're now studying up on different brands where they're going to go and train on the best hack squats, the best seated chest presses. Right. So they end up far more aware of it.
And I guess that's your influencer strategy as well, isn't it? All your big athletes. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that leans into it. So there is a strategy behind some of that that's there, but that doesn't necessarily work in Europe. It doesn't necessarily work in countries like Germany as well. It's different in America and it's completely differently led in the Asia Pacific market. So, you know, we have to be really adaptable with that and make sure that we're not just trying to use our one successful thumb and make that work for everything,
you know? Right. And obviously they're not the buyer, so it's they're like very indirectly. Yeah.
And it's just, it's different because the UK, we've got, I think last year there was the best part of 9,500 independent gyms in the country. And considering the size of the country, like that is a huge amount of gyms. A large majority of them are ex-personal trainers, people that have competed, people that have set up on their own, and you know they've built it themselves from scratch, and so they want to put in the kit that they like, that they've trained on. So the influence is led again, looking for those brands, which has again led into why we've been as successful as we have since going direct.
Yeah.
Yet if you go into Germany, independent gyms are they're few and far between.
Really?
It's not that they don't exist. But you would have like a McFit, for instance, would go in 250 clubs as standard.
Right.
John Reed will have X amount of clubs that are filling in there. So it's a lot of chain clubs throughout the whole of the country. And that's just part of the course that that's just how they operate and how they work. So that's where the UK is so diverse and so different. That's why it's very hard to kind of use the same formula as such over there that works here as well. You know, we have to really kind of listen to where the market's going.
It's interesting. The UK is, we always consider ourselves 5 years behind, but I think the guys we fly over from the US are always like quite impressed with how forward-thinking the UK is, really, especially like London and around and Manchester and around. It's very kind of forward-thinking, lots of innovation, lots of passion, isn't there? There's lots of people wanting to create really good product.
I think people have been waiting for people to take a chance and do something different before they actually go ahead and do it. Like we really have waited to go and see, I'd love to make a change, I'd love to be unique and be different, but we kind of know a certain strategy is going to work.
Yeah.
But now there's a bit more people willing to just go completely off-piste and go like, no, we're going to do this. This is who we are. This is how we're going to build it. And we're only going to appeal to that market.
That's true.
We're absolutely going to smash it in that market. And we don't care about the people that don't want to come, as opposed to trying to just be a gym
one
for everyone.
Yeah. I think that's true. I've heard that a lot this year, actually. Yeah. People just going, right, take the brakes off and just, this is who we are.
Yeah.
And that actually, seeing that as a really positive thing, that we've niched down, these guys now absolutely love us. And if we've repelled a few people that aren't quite right for it, then that is what it is, kind of thing. Yeah.
And the thing is, there's so many gyms and there's so much that's grown, they will find what they want elsewhere.
Yeah.
And whereas before, when I was a personal trainer, showing my age now, so when I was a PT 20 years ago, you had a selection of gyms to go and choose to work in, but they were all pretty much like for like the same. You know, at that time, you had a Virgin, you had a Fitness First. David Lloyd had just opened this massive club, so it was a beautiful club to kind of be in. But you had things like Dragons Health Club, so people of my age, when they hear that, they're going to go, God, I remember training in one of them. You know, so you had those kind of brands that were there, Nuffield, Esporter, that were there at that time. And the only difference would really be the uniform and maybe a little bit of decor, but the offering was still the same. Rows and rows of cardio, a little bit of strength, free weights area, pool, changing rooms, spin studio, 2 dance studios. Like, That's not necessarily par for the course anymore. People don't necessarily want that as such. So being able to be unique and be distinctive is working in this industry's advantage massively.
So you talked about you've got a massively broad portfolio, you've got over 500 products. Looking at one machine you're super proud of, what problem does it solve that people didn't notice before?
So we've got quite a lot of unique pieces, but one of our signature bits is our strong range. So strong range is in our plate loaded range, which has got built-in drop set mechanisms, and that's just patented just for us. And you've trained on it before, and you've seen it in some clubs. So completely unique, and it's just
put one in, right?
Yeah, so they've got the guide rods on there. So when you've maxed out your set that you want to do, you flip the two handles, and the plates will slide down and reduce 30% of the load. So it changes the resistance profile, changes the arc, the strength arc that's on there. Now for that, it's much more enjoyable for the user to not have to get off, unrack his plates, find somewhere to rack them. People will chuck plates on the floor like invariably that they do and don't always clean up after them. So from a training experience, it's great because it's innovative, but it also makes the user experience a lot easier when they're training. So that's what everyone kind of wants at the end of the day.
Yeah,
wants
solves
seamless
a real
training
problem.
experience and solves that problem. So I would say that's one of our most obvious kind of solutions that we've got with a unique product, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. And then that going into that pin selection versus plate loaded, what is your advice to an operator if they're asking that question?
Again, I think if the first questions they should be looking at is what kind of experience do we want? Who are we trying to get? Because traditionally people would be like pin versus plate, little old Doris, the older generation, they're not going to go on any plate. New users, girls that are coming into the gym for the first time, don't want too much plate, it's a bit garish. Those aren't necessarily true anymore as such. Like, don't get me wrong, you still have to be cautious of special populations, new users, safe spaces for women when they're training into the gym, absolutely. But I think it's all based on the kind of member journey that the clubs want to have. So we're finding that we're actually selling more plate than pin.
Right.
At the moment, we've got more unique pieces in that space as well. But there are some clubs where, Third Space, for instance, they're not a plate-heavy club. So their experience that they want their members to have in there is going to be that there are key signature pieces that they have in their clubs, which are great. But you wouldn't walk into that and have, say, a full area of maybe 20 plate-loaded machines. But you will get the best part of 15 pin select machines, because that leads into the experience that they want their members to have when they're training in those spaces. So yeah, I think they know again what they want their experience to be.
Again, isn't it? Yeah.
So they're very kind of like the guys at Buzz and like a lot of our partners, they're very decisive. This is what we do, this is how we want it to work, and that's going to work in that way. So it's different, I think, for your independent strength clubs. They want to go plate heavy, they want unique pieces, and they want that kind of demographic to come in and train in them. In some of the larger commercial chains, they're going to have more their safe, steady options of pin selectorized machines for everyone to use, but still put some really cool, unique pieces so that they're not completely leaving that genre out.
Nice. And something I've noticed from both met John at Third Space week before last, and then Mark at Fitness First last week, and it's a combination of knowing their customer really well, like really understanding their customer, but two, very data led, and you can hear them kind of really understanding the numbers on this class, or the footfall in a certain area of the gym, and really monitoring that and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot, it's really interesting to see how they analyze and make those decisions, kind of thing. It's really interesting.
Definitely. At some of those clubs as well, the data led is a heavily influenced, whereas some data led is an influence, but much smaller. They go more on gut or impulse or what they want more than anything else. The idea of having it a certain way, as opposed to, well, we know full well the chances of our membership staying at this point, making this amount of yield, we need this amount of these machines.
Yeah.
Whereas traditionally you think, would we want to put 2 or 3 of those machines in? Maybe I wouldn't recommend it, but I don't know the members.
Yeah.
And I think that's again where us as suppliers have to make sure that we listen to what the customer genuinely wants and what they need for their experience, as opposed to me saying, oh, you can't have that. You can't have those 2, you should have this instead. Like, it won't always work in that way.
True. Very true, very true. And something you're big into as well, and I notice it here, and the other buzz which I train at in town is the customization.
Yeah.
So you've got the colours, upholstery, branding. It's super slick, and it's the buzz green, which I think is super cool. How important is that customization to your customers?
Now, probably more than ever.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. We're fortunate that not every brand can offer the level of customization that we can do, but some still offer it. But I think people want to be on brand now more than ever. And 10 years ago, everything was in like silver grey, metallic frames, and you might be able to choose a black upholstery or a red upholstery.
Right.
Like now, you can have anything. Frame, moving parts, different textured finishes, clear lack, industrial looking clear coated steel, all the way through to like a rust effect that's on there, like our outdoor machines. There isn't anything that we can't do with that.
Nice.
Even signature finishes like our croco, which is like a burnt, crackled effect in matte, hammer blow, which is like a mottled blend of colours that look really cool. No one else can offer those as such. And it really does make certain bits stand out. So in certain facilities, they want it on brand with their colours. And that's what works with Buzz, because they've got a very specific rail code for their green that not everyone can do. So It might be a different shade of green. So if they were to buy from elsewhere, they'd be like, well, let's just go black, and then we'll probably get some green pads made up.
Right.
And do it that way.
Right.
Whereas here we can go, well, actually, we can choose your Buzz green on the frames, we can do black on the moving parts, we can do Buzz green on your stitching,
Nice.
on your logo, we can put your logo here, we can laser cut it into the shroud.
Wow.
If you wanted it laser cut into the frame, we can do that. Like, there isn't any level of customization that we can't do. And I think those that now suddenly realise that they're going to spend X, and for probably the equivalent of the cost of one more machine,
right,
they get to customise their entire kit. And that's the bit when some people are like, do I buy that lat pull down, or do I buy this seated leg press done if I've got enough room? They're going to go, well, actually, for the same amount of money, I can really make my kit pop. I can laser cut stuff into shrouds, I can put my logo on upholstery, and I can make our gym stand out so that the training experience, again, it doesn't enhance the experience for the user in terms of how the kit works, but visually, when when you come into a club, it feels unique, and it feels like it's something that you're not going to get somewhere else.
True.
I feel like a lot of clubs want that, even if it's just their logo just put on. Some definitely don't. They're quite happy to go incognito, let's keep it in black or keep it in silver, and that works for them. But it's nice to have the option.
So it's a user experience thing. Do you think part of it is a marketing thing? Are people taking a lot of pictures of it? And
yeah. We've just done one super gym in Nottingham that we did a couple of days ago, and he's gone with some very distinctive, like bright blues along with our black croco, and he's mixed it up, and he's got a light blue in the booty zone. But the way that their club is designed, like the lighting is spectacular. So the experience when you come in and train is like, it couldn't work with just a plain black machine.
Right.
And it wouldn't just work with just traditional normal stuff that goes in there. It can only work the way that he has definitely heavily influenced, led the design of that kit, nice. The colours on the bits that he wants. It's a long process to get to where we got to, because you want to get it so right. Whereas not everyone can kind of offer that. They'll go with the machine comes in black. So you take it in black, and that's really it. Cool. So it does make it stand out. So when you see it, it elevates it into such a premium position that people think, my word, like the amount of money you must have spent to get it to look that incredible. So yeah, I think a lot of clubs now see the value in doing it, definitely.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's, over the last few PerformXs, we've had some good conversations about lessons from hospitality, the hospitality sector, and some operators, people like JC from the Foundry and Rez from House of Fitness, and they're just explaining the amount of time they'll spend just experiencing in hospitality, high-end hospitality, and then going, how can this transfer to my gym? And what's that welcome experience feel like? You're not just walking in as a load of old dirty trainers by the door. It's like, okay, this is a proper entrance foyer because you're talking sometimes, especially in that kind of small group PT world, you're talking to someone with some money, but also someone that doesn't necessarily love fitness. They're not expecting that kind of CrossFit box, straight into fitness experience. They want a bit of a a luxury, like a sort of warming up to it, nice experience, and like you were talking about, that lighting, that impact, that wow factor as you walk in. This is the kind of place I want to be.
It makes a difference. It really does. When you consider, if you're in a group training environment as such, or if you're in an independent strength gym, there's only so much that you can do that's different. Like, at the end of the day, gyms are gyms. Like, some places you can get the exact same kit, but it's what the customer experiences from the moment they walk in, to what they see, to how they're welcomed, to how easy it is for them to use the changing rooms, to have a hot shower, like, to all of the little added extras where people invest in that make an enormous difference. And the high-end hospitality sector is where people, like you said, they're trying to really draw down on that, because some of it doesn't cost a lot of money to do.
No.
It's habits, it's culture, it's mentality, it's training, it's education, all of those bits which lead into that differentiation. And now that's where, leading back to one of your early questions, I think that's where clubs are really leaning into, you say, taking the brakes off and going, no, we're going to do it this way. This is our way. We're not going to sacrifice any of these other bits, and we're not going to kind of try and just copy everyone else's stuff just because we know it's safe. Be unique to ourselves. From a supplier's point, it's great because we can really support that and be unique with the kit. But I definitely find, like you say, they've pulled down from high-end hospitality and tried to really cater to that experience. So that experience is probably worth more than it's ever been at the moment.
It's true. And I think the gym is obviously evolving into being a lot more than just a gym, isn't it? Like, we've talked about health hubs and longevity, but like, it's the place where people now expect to meet their community, their friends, future partners maybe, because the office is gone. So, you need it to be a place that people will want to hang out as well. So there's so much to it, and the more you can kind of add to that experience, or really think about that user experience, the better kind of thing. So that customized kit, that every touch point being well thought out. If you're speaking to a customer that just is about to spend sort of 6 figures on kit, brand new site, what are the 3 questions they must answer before that project?
I mean, from a business perspective, do you have a budget to work within? And I always feel like it's never a nice question to receive if you are the buyer, because then people just go, if I tell you 100 grand, you're just going to give me 100 grand's worth of kit whether I want it or not.
Right.
And that's not necessarily it, but the more information that we have as a supplier, we can create the best experience within a threshold more than anything else. So budget is backwards. Budget is it is important to make sure that we're not going, well, yeah, but if you spend all of this, like, I'll design you a gym, and then you'll fall in love with it and suddenly realise it could be double the budget, and you're trying to struggle to maybe find that. Yeah, look, business 101, people always want to upsell, I get it, but I feel that's pretty disingenuous against our word when we're saying that we actually want to be more than just a transactional business.
Yeah.
So we want to work within the same thresholds that the club has got to make sure that we're actually supporting them in the best way, because that's how relationships are built and that's how they last, in my opinion. I think another question is always being like, what is your kind of non-negotiables when it comes to your kit selection? It's so important to know, because again, they build the foundations of what we're building out from. They might turn around and go, we need standard pin select pieces, leg extension, leg curl, chest press, shoulder press, leg press, etc. They're a fundamental, but the space can lead to something completely different. So we need to know what the non-negotiables are. It must have X, Y, Z, because this is the member that we're going to have. Yeah. So from our perspective, do they know what they are? And if they don't, let's spend some time and work them out. Because again, they find real value in us not trying to tell them, well, you need a hack squat. You don't need a hack squat, but if your member experience that you're about to describe and us work together means actually you probably could do with one, then great. But your member experience may be completely different to what that's going to be. Yeah. So we have to find out what the non-negotiables are first, and then it's much easier to kind of paint that picture for them or with them. And I suppose third one, again, it's going to come down to, I would say, what experience do you want your members to have? Yeah. Like, non-negotiables are great from an operational standpoint, but what's the experience going to be? Yeah. More than anything else. Because when we have that, and when we know your non-negotiables, your budget, and the experience that you want, we can then give you the best advice and support to go in. And those things, they're not an afterthought to some providers, because definitely in the large providers, it's almost ingrained in who they are. That's right. Why they can build the success that they've built, because it's built around those things. But for new gyms, for startup gyms, or for gyms that have opened one site that are now looking at opening a second, they know what kind of works, they know what doesn't work. They don't want to make the same mistakes that they made when they first opened, but they also want to make sure they stay true to their brand but not get caught up in too many trends. And it's a bit like there's so much to think about. It's so important to just, from our side, to just have those kind of bits in play. When we have that, it's so much easier to support.
And on that kind of, struggle of trying to ride the trends whilst it does feel like there's probably more options than ever for a gym operator at the moment. What do you think CEOs or head buyers that you're speaking to, what problem are they actually trying to solve right now?
I don't necessarily think it's a case of problems to solve. I think they're always trying to make marginal improvements. So whether they produce greater value for the members that come in, improve their length of stay more than anything else. And the two are so intrinsically linked by the experience that they get when they come in. I know that's something that we've honed in on so much during that, but I probably can't emphasize that enough, that it's making sure that, I think, the money that they're about to spend, because when you're about to go and part with 100, 200, 300, sometimes £500,000, you only get to do it once.
Right.
And if you don't do it right, it's an expensive mistake to fix.
Yeah.
I suppose they want to, it's very easy to fall back into the trap of stuff that works.
Right.
But how can you enhance your offering? And that's where I think the biggest hurdles are, because they're almost saying a bit like, well, convince me why I should have your strong range. Is it so unique? I don't want to put something in and it never gets used. Right. Like that kind of stuff. Are you going to have machines that we decide that we're going to invest to be different in, and all of a sudden we don't have necessarily the educational standpoint or people on the gym floor? So in some gyms, for instance, they have a kind of low staff model. So you can't put those machines in on the gym floor without gym floor staff or a lot of personal trainers or a head of education who can actually help guide that member to use that kit to get the most out of it. If you just put it on there and then expect members to just off they go, it becomes a white elephant. People don't know that they're training on it, they don't know how to reset it. Absolute waste of money.
Right.
And then it will always come back, well, I put that Gym 80 piece of kit in there and no one ever uses it, so it can't be that good.
Right.
So I think we need to mitigate that when the purchasing is happening with CEOs, and make sure that their risk is kind of taken into consideration, and that the money that they're spending is going to actually be worth that investment. So that's where it comes down to the more conversations that we have and the better relationships that we have, the easier it is for us to make sure that we're in synergy on what we're proposing, and what they want is definitely going to work for them.
Interesting, yeah. I think that comes into PerformX nicely, because it's that choice between kind of playing it safe and rolling the dice, but PerformX helps. We tried to get people that are actually doing that on our stages, the people that have delivered the longevity model or delivered, the recovery model or whatever the latest trend is, and we've got like fitness racing, this year a big how can you monetize and do that really well, and looking at all the AI, GLP-1, what are the things that people are kind of like, what could I do there that that people are talking about doing, but actually who can we get that's already doing it? And then you've got a few different case studies of success kind of thing.
I need someone to take a punt on it. Someone's got to do it and it work, because I think a lot of people want to, and it's that risk between, it could be X, Y, and Z. We can spend that money we know on either better changing rooms. Let's say 50 grand, we can put in nicer showers. We could change the cafe. We could maybe buy a couple of different machines that are far more safer options than going, right, are we going to offer X, Y, Z? Are we going to go down into something new, which it is a trend, but if you're late to the party and your competitors start to get it, are you only doing it because they've got it? So look, I'm not a gym owner, so it's very hard for me to tell people what they should and shouldn't do. But if your gut's telling you to take that punt and the finances lead that way, sometimes the risk is worth taking, because I feel in the UK industry alone, there's so much more unique offerings that's there, and everyone wants access to as much of it as possible, unless it's something really, really crazy that no one else is even thinking of. You know, if your relationship with your members is really good, if you listen to your members, there's every chance it's going to work.
Digging into the accounts in your portfolio, you've got from super premium to value. What's the difference in how they would buy and how they win?
I think the difference in how they buy, for let's say you're I'm not going to go low cost operator because we don't really sell into the low cost market as such. So for independent gyms that are a bit more value driven, somewhat maybe price sensitive as such, the owners are usually, they know what they want straight away,
right,
and they tend not to do a full turnkey with us. They want what they feel is best in brand. So they're going to mix and match their offerings up, similar to what Ad at Buzz here. We know that we don't give him everything, we give him a selection of machines. Whereas some of them will go, we just want these 3 machines from you, and we're really happy with that. And they've almost made their mind up with that.
Right.
The more larger, premium, luxury-led kind of experience clubs, it's a completely different buying strategy. They would have already had in their head how they want to fill the space, what they want to use. We'll be a complete pin and plate operator for that. And then it's going back to that CEO mitigating risk. If I put a belt squat in there, is this the right move? Or do we go with a traditional leg press? We're going to choose one of them. We're going to absolutely customize it to high heaven. We're going to make it look incredible. What we can't have is this incredible piece that doesn't get used. You know, whereas in the more value-based spaces, things like Facebook Marketplace, We Buy, gym equipment, like the resale market is quite prevalent. So that if it doesn't work for whatever reason, or if they don't like it, they'll find a buyer for it and sell it on, and then they'll just replace it, whether that's with us or with a different brand, for something that suddenly does work. So they can probably, the money's tighter, but they can afford to make an error and then fix it a lot quicker.
Yes.
Whereas in that kind of wellness, corporate, high-end premium space, there's no room for error at all, you know, because it affects the brand in such a way.
Right.
So it's just different buying mentalities, it's different issues, it's different problems. So yeah, that's where we have to have many different hats to make sure that we can kind of support and cater for those as well.
And looking at the strength training market, if you had a crystal ball, where's it going in the next 12 months, this time next year?
I think more unique pieces. I think more and more brands now are offering more and more different bits of kit. I think they realise, some of our competitors definitely have realised that, you know, there's certain machines that we do that they don't. That doesn't mean that they would copy them, but for a bigger market share, you don't want to be losing out on that by not having solutions to that.
So that's rise of the educated end user that knows what they want to get on.
Definitely.
And they're looking for a specific bit of kit.
Yeah, I would say so. And I think from strength training going forward, I feel like the education's there for people to learn and do more with.
Yeah.
There's more online coaches, there's more personal training options, there's more bodybuilding, strength workshops. There's a lot more people heavily invested in this. And it's always been there, but you know, if you even look at the old common misconceptions that, you know, if women train with weights, they're going to just put on too much muscle and they're going to look terrible. Exactly. And it's like, couldn't be further from the truth.
And the longevity message, I've seen some really good stuff around that now, and that, you know, that is future proofing, you know, women seeing themselves as looking stronger and you're going to age much better, and you know, that kind of angle towards it.
The whole strong is the new skinny is definitely a thing. But you know what, that from our experience and our research, they enjoy it more. Like, they love being confident going into a gym in safe spaces where they can go and train and go on kit and use machines that 10 years ago they would have never used. They would have been, and unsurprisingly, you know, they wouldn't want to go into certain areas where those machines were. You know, they'd have to go with their boyfriend or their partner. It was almost like a protective element to make sure when they're in the gym that they feel okay. Like, now you've got booty zones specifically designed around that, you know, encouraging those areas that are far more accepted. And so I kind of feel like that's going to continue over the next 12 months for me. I think more access, greater education, and some really cool bits of kit that are going to just continue to make sure that people have got what they want at the end of their fingertips to go and train.
Nice. And what let's get into PerformX, which is now a few weeks away, 25th, 26th of February, shameless plug, NEC Birmingham. Definitely looking like our biggest show yet by quite some way, and you guys have gone bigger, which is amazing. But what can people expect from Gym 80 at PerformX?
So we've got a couple of new machines. Last year we had a smaller stand, really, but we just wanted good location. So now we've got over double the amount of machines on our stand.
Nice.
Because we managed to steal a bit more space and boot someone off. So we demanded a bigger stand. But no, we've got more kit to showcase now. And yeah, I think for us, it kind of just follows up the success that we've had at PerformX more than anything else. We'll have a couple of bits in the gym of the future. And I think we want to be able to continue showcase, and we want to lead it as a bit of a teaser. FIBO's coming up in April. We'll have even more kit there. So it always leads for those that are not going to go to FIBO, because not everyone can go. They're going to be able to see and understand our partnership offering more and more, be able to try out some more kit. And it's going to be a good couple of days. Looking forward to it.
Nice. So what do you look forward to most about PerformX? What do you like about the show?
Do you know what? It's just a really cool show to be at. I think the lighting's really great, the music, the people that are coming in. It's a nice steady flow throughout the day, and it's just a very cool show to be a part of. And I think brand perspective, we align really, really well, because I think that we've known you guys from the we almost launched ourselves at the same time.
True.
Do you know what I mean? We kind of come on to play. We dipped our toe into the first PerformX, and we kind of muscled our way into the next one. Just bought a gold dumbbell to just bring attention for ourselves. But and I think that obviously the relationship that we built means that the markets and people that we want to sell to, and that people go to PerformX looking for cutting edge, new innovation and stuff that they haven't had access to before. And therefore it kind of just suits us perfectly to be able to work with you guys and be a part of that journey. And it's been a great relationship so far. So it's one that we obviously want to continue. And long, how would you say? Here's to the future.
Here's to the future,
You're going to cut that bit out, yeah?
But I think it's a good point. I think it's something we try and pride ourselves on, is being on the pulse of where the industry's at. So we never want to deliver the same show. We always want to look what's going on next, and I think that reflects well in the brands involved, because everyone wants to go bigger, better, more cutting edge, and we're trying to bring back that culture of launching things at shows, because that was always the way back in the day at a FIBO or an Ursa, as it was called, was save all your product up and drop it at a show. And I think if we can bring some element of that back with the gym of the future, where there's a lot of new and different things from outside of our sector, if it's biohacking devices or whatever it is, that the brand new latest kit, this is how the future gym floor will look in a year's time, that kind of futuristic view, and then also flying in people that are actually doing the things that people are considering, those kind of should I do that? And then this guy's doing it really well in the States or whatever.
And that's what I like, is as a brand and as a person, I'm extremely ambitious, and we have high standards. We demand them off everyone we work with and work for, and I do personally, as I kind of feel like that is a mantra for us to move forward, is to continually innovate and have those high standards that's there. And so I always feel like PerformX has resonated in that way, because they're always pushing that boundary that little bit more, always bringing in people that are the future of where our industry is going and not too late to the party. And I think it reminds me a lot of what the old FitPro convention was. So, might be before your time, Giles.
It was,
So, it used to be at Loughborough University, and it used to be great. All fitness professionals would go there, and it would just be all of a sudden a network of personal trainers, strength coaches from different clubs, gyms. You'd go to Loughborough for a couple of days, and you would just go to lectures, seminars from all of the biggest names in the industry. The people that literally wrote the books right now, like the Chuck Wolfs, the Michelle Dalcourts of the year, all of those people would basically stand in front of you and give you a lecture or seminar on stuff that you would kill to go and stand in front of at that time. So access to those minds. And now the people that are great people that are in our industry right now, but you know, they've learnt from these guys.
Yeah.
And then it kind of lost its way, and we lost access to these great minds, these great innovators, the educational people in our industry. And I kind of feel like PerformX has taken a chunk of that to bring it back and twin it so that it doesn't just feel like a trade show. It feels different, you know, which is exciting. And you want to be a part of that. You don't really want to just go on the outside and go like, we should be here.
Very true. And final question, why is PerformX unmissable for someone who's ambitious in the fitness industry?
I feel like you will come along and make connections with people that you need that are going to support that growth. Whether that is, if you're a personal trainer who really just wants to broaden their scope and find out where this industry is going. So, you know, they feel like they can be a bit of a sponge to some stuff. There's some good speakers. And I feel like if they're a gym who's looking at really seeing how they can be unique and different and seeing what kit, what operators, how people can help and support, I really feel like that's there for them. So you can take away one part from that, but the value that you get from that one part can be enormous. But I just feel like there's enough that's there that, you know, when a gym now doesn't go usually as much to one operator to give everything, there's a lot of collegiate work between a lot of brands. You end up talking to a lot of other companies and all working on the same project, but we never kind of like align with each other. And sometimes it can be much better for the gym if everyone's on the same page and, you know, you end up working together with a lot of the same brands anyway on the same project. So I think for people coming along, they'll suddenly realise that there's an awful lot more support out there than they might have known. So definitely.
Awesome. Pleasure to have you on, mate.
Thanks very much.